little announcement, which is that I was going through everyone's tasks for this week, and there are a couple of people who haven't uploaded their Figma link that was a part of this week's task. I did send you guys a Discord message for that. And also, could you guys please double check your Figmas, making sure that they're shared with both me and Flory, because there's some that I am not able to view. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, you. So we'll do a recap of last week's task. Then I'm gonna do basically the rest of this meeting is gonna be like a huge demo of like CSS and HTML, and I'm gonna like build a web page, and you guys can just follow, or you can watch as we go through this, and then I'm gonna give you guys, if we finish early, you guys will have some time at the end to ask us any questions or start working on things on your own. But today will be a pretty chill meeting of just like working through stuff. But last week's task, we were building a component. So over here, you can see in our main page.tsx, which houses our home, we have a couple links on top, and then I imported a demo component, and at the bottom, I have 2 instances of that demo component. And if you look back at my original demo component, you'll see that I just have a couple of text values, as well as a prop. So a prop is how you pass in data. Like over here, I'm passing in a prop, and I'm grabbing the name field of that particular prop. So I'm saying hi, and then because we're in JSX, I have to surround that JavaScript within my HTML with these brackets over here, and I'm grabbing props.name. So then over here, I'm assigning the name field to Flory. Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. Not super pretty, but functional. So as a reminder, your final design should be done now. If you haven't already, please check your Figma or add your Figma link to the tracker sheet, and just make sure that the link is accessible for both of us. And I would highly recommend just like sticking with your design that you have right now for the rest of the semester. It's going to be a lot of work for you to like have to edit your designs and then update your website throughout the semester. And I'm sure all of you guys are pretty busy with classes and you don't want to spend all that time like redoing your original work. So for now, just stick with your design, your finished design. So then later in the summer or next year, you can actually like customize it and personalize it as much as you want. But for now, your design should just basically be the design for the rest of the semester. Any questions on like anything general so far? Yeah.
Yeah, for the Figma design that we have right now, is it okay to have like text and image elements, or should we be adding those later with HTML and CSS?
Oh, you can add that later.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it doesn't need to be like a super exact model of what you want, but it should be close enough that when you actually start coding it, you're not wondering, wait, what is this supposed to look like? Good question. Okay, cool. So as a short review, we went over front end and back end. So we're spending this month on a lot of like the front end features, and most of you will probably only ever be working with front end for this semester. So we remember that our main 3 languages are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. React is the library that we're using, and then Angular and Vue are just like other frameworks. And behind the scenes, when you open up any browser, that browser is going to request the HTML content, and that HTML is what we're learning to write today. So the HTML content will have 2 types of content, text and tags. We went over HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, which you guys will have a lot more exposure to later. But essentially, we have HTML as like the bare bones content, CSS making it look pretty. I know a lot of you guys really put in a lot of effort to like make your website like represent you as much as possible. So hopefully, with the CSS skills that we're equipping you guys with today, you guys will get a chance to do that. And then we learned about a framework a bit. We learned that. Something I did want to, this is kind of like a side note, not super important, but actually, remember when I was showing you guys this little diagram where this browser is requesting HTML content and it loads the JavaScript? What our framework does, like React, it uses a different language, JSX, remember? It's a combination of HTML and JSX. But in reality, the browser can only read plain vanilla JavaScript. It can't read like our framework code, like .jsx. So within the bundling step, that's when your framework code is actually translated into JavaScript for the browser to read. So like if this is like the type of stuff that's really interesting to you and you find it, you want to learn more about like how websites are actually built, I would highly recommend CS 484 by Professor Koenig. He teaches it every fall semester. So if you guys have room for a tech elective next fall, I would highly recommend registering for it, because I think anyone you ask is going to recommend you. Like, this is probably one of the most valuable classes you'll take at UIC. You guys will have noticed that when you guys run your NPM server, you have some like local host over here and then this port number on the right. So the value on the left, your local host, that's like your IP address. So it's an address to your actual computer, like your machine. And everybody's IP address, their local address is always going to be this 127.0.0.1 value. The port number on the right is like for a specific application. So right now our computer is being used as a server to serve our HTML content. So I found this Reddit post that kind of explains it a little nicely for you guys. So IP addresses are like our building addresses, like our actual device, whereas the ports are the individual like apartments where like each software or service lives. So just like cool side notes about the stuff you're using, and like there's just so much more beneath like every layer. So hopefully that's like a cool fun fact of the day for you guys, and it'll be a little more familiar when you guys run into that next time. Next.js is the framework we're using. I also wanted you guys to take note how we were talking about Next.js is a framework that uses the React library, but also on the right you can see that this framework also includes a bundler, like the bundler that we were talking about over here. So bundlers serve several purposes, but one of the purposes is translating our JSX into JavaScript. And it also comes with a compiler. But I will let Next.js explain more of itself on its website. So just a disclaimer slide for you guys that we went over last week. Did anyone have any questions, general questions about anything that I mentioned before? Obviously, none of this is like super important for you right now to like start coding, but it's cool background knowledge, I feel like, to know what you're working with. Great. Okay, so today we're gonna go over HTML styling. I did prepare like CS like slides, but actually I think it'd be better if I did some demos for you guys right now. So right now I'm running my server running my site using, where is it? npm run dev. And if you can see, my Figma is very pretty right now. But I have my homepage. I have my homepage right here. And you can see, sorry, I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see this better. Okay. So this is my homepage. All I did, all I changed from last time is, you know that component that I had before, I actually removed it. I don't need it anymore. But what I did is I imported this new style demo component. And if you go to the style demo component, all it is just this yellow box. It's this box. So I imported 9 instances of those. And what you guys will see is we're going to practice like styling with that. So something I wanted to show you guys is that within my homepage, I have a container, and I've given that container some styling with Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS is this really cool library that helps you actually style your components and style your HTML within that HTML tag. Because before you would have had to use like a separate CSS file, like I showed you guys before. You would have had to use like a separate CSS file that you would have to link to your HTML down here. But now you can just do it right within your HTML tag. So it just makes it so much simpler. So let's go here. So I'm going to show you guys how to play around with this a bit. If you see, I gave it a border. So one really, really important concept in HTML and like CSS is being able to manipulate your containers and your elements inside them. So just by adding this keyword flex, I've already changed the way that my content is laid out. The reason this is because by default, your content is in like a non-flex position, but by doing flex, this actually gives you the opportunity to manipulate your container. So if I do flex, I can change my content to be flex column, which is the default version. But if I change it, if I just do flex, the default of flex is flex row. Now within that, I can add a gap between each of my flex contents, and I can just give it a gap of 1. I can give it a gap of 5. And now you might be wondering, okay, so I have these elements or whatever. How do I actually center them within this container? Well, in order to center them, you have 2 axes. So you have your main axis, which is kind of like your, I'm pretty sure this is like your x-axis. And then you have like your cross-axis, which is like your y-axis. Wait, let me check if that was right. Yeah, main axis is like x-axis. So if I want to center things on the x-axis, like right here, then I would use justify. And if I want to align center items on the cross-axis, I would use align. So let me kind of explain a bit or demonstrate. So if I have justify center, this doesn't do anything because my content, this aligns my items on the main axis, like the x-axis. If I do align center, then you can't really tell if it does anything. But what if I increase my container to be, let's see, height. And we'll do 530. So if I set my height to be 500 and I want to make sure my content is justified in the middle, I can actually do item center, and that will cause my items over here to be in the center. Well, I guess, yeah, it's, you might have to play around with it a bit. Sometimes I'll like use all 3 of these, just like kind of blindly to make sure it's all centered. But this is how you would center content. Another useful thing is if you see how when I shrink this, they kind of overflow a bit. There are ways to change this or to update this. You can use media queries, but you can also use flex to be able to make sure these shrink when you shrink the screen. I'm pretty sure you could do flex wrap. And flex wrap is how you make it wrap like that. Or you could change it if you don't want it to do that. You could do no wrap, and then it won't wrap. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. There's a lot of things you can do with flex. I feel like I could spend a lot of time showing you guys this. Oh, maybe one important thing, one other important thing with flex is, yes, okay. There's also one thing. So you don't just have to do justify center. You could do justify around, which kind of changes the way changes like the spacing between these items. You can do justify space justify between. It adjusts it a little bit, but I don't remember the specific differences, but you can kind of just play around with it and see how it works. You could also, if you want things to be like justified towards the top or the bottom, you don't always have to do center. You could do justify end, and then it shifts everything to the end of the x-axis. Or you could do justify start, and then it'll justify everything to the start of the axis. This also works with these two settings as well. So like definitely like experiment, play around with that. I also have like a CSS cheat sheet for you guys to work with. But for now, actually, let's work on doing some styling with our header. So if you'll notice, I'm gonna get rid of this really quickly. If you notice, we're on our home page right now, but when we go to About, it just resets everything. In a typical website, you want to make sure that your header is going to be on all pages, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to create a header component, and since this component is shared, I'm just going to make it under my components folder, and I'll call it header.jsx. And I'm going to export default function, because it's a function, and I'll call it header. And then at the end of every function title, you have those parentheses, and then you have your brackets, and I'm going to return some HTML, and I have to surround my HTML with either a div or these like empty arrows. And I'm just going to copy the code I have right here. So in my page.tsx, I have this div, and I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to place it right here. Now it's going to probably yell at me because I don't have link imported, or we'll see. Maybe it won't yell at me. But after this, I'm just going to import header to page.tsx, in page.tsx, import header. That's not one from /components. That's my folder, and then it'll give you the list of items within your components folder. And now I can just use my header component like this. And now it's yelling at me because its link is not defined, I believe. Is that what it's saying? Yeah, link is not defined. So that means in my header component file, I have to import link from next/link. Now, in each of my pages, if I want this component to be visible, I have to go into each of my pages and just import my header. So instead of having to rewrite my code, I can just do import header from components/header. And I might have to go out. Hold on. Oh. And now, on top of that, I can use my header. And okay, so here's another error you might run into with your code. If you have a return and you have this error, the reason is you have like these two separate HTML tags, but you need to surround everything in either a div or in those empty brackets that I had shown earlier. Otherwise, it will be confused. So now it's working. So if I go to contact, you have my little header on top. And I'm going to just do the same to about and projects. And then I'm going to show you guys the next cool thing that we can do with layout. Right here. Okay, so if I go to each of my pages, I should have my header on top at every single one. Okay, but there's something else that we need to fix. I want all my pages to look the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want that all the content is going to look the same. Because let's go to any website. Let's go to Blackboard, I guess. Oh, no, I don't want to go to Blackboard. Okay, let's just go here. So this is like an HTML CSS tutorial site that I think I linked to you guys, but if not, but notice how even if you go to like a different page, like generally the layout of the website is the same. You still have the same amount of padding around the content, like the font size is always the same, the header is always in the same place, and this doesn't mean that they're always using the same components. The way that we can make sure that all our pages generally look the same and like have the same level of styling is with layout. So layout.tsx is a way to style all of your pages within your website. So as you can see, there's a bunch of random stuff on top, but you'll see over here, root layout affects like your main page, and whatever page that you pass into this component or into this HTML, into children, it's going to style it with this particular, with these styles. So if I want to make sure that all my pages have some spacing on the side, then what I would do is I would add padding, like right here. Wait, actually, I don't know if it's going to work with class name, but okay. So now you can see that it affected my homepage. Let me remove the styling from my original homepage. Yeah, let's just remove that. So if I go to every single one of my pages, you can see that now I have this added padding on all of my pages. And let's say I want there to be a border around all of my pages. I'm going to add this border. Let's just do border. And now all of my pages, including my home page, has this border. So layout is a way to like kind of make sure all your pages look consistent. You can also play around with that. You can change the background color. You can change the amount of padding. You can also change margin if you want to change margin, 20. And then this kind of adds spacing as well. So the difference between margin and padding is margin affects the space outside of your container, whereas padding impacts the space inside your container. Actually, I should just show that to you guys instead of talking about it. Let's see. I have this little style demo page. Oh, wait. Okay. So I had this tester page for just some random stuff. But if I want to change the padding inside a piece of content, okay, let's say I have hi over here. Where'd it go? Let's do this. No. So let's say I have some object that has a background that's red and it has a black border, and I need to add a particular width and height, so I'll do W dash and then like 20 pixels and then height dash 20 pixels. And the reason it's giving me this yellow error is it's saying there's like a shorter way to write this. I could just write W5, but that's okay. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys to see. So if I have some like text in here, like hello, there. If I want to add spacing inside so that hello there isn't touching the border, I would add padding, and that padding could be any level of padding I want. I'll do like padding 3, and you can see that it changes the distance from the item inside to the item, to the border of the item. Now, if I want to change the margin, that's like changing the space between this item and like the space around it, the container around it. I would do M, which stands for margin, and then I would do like 3. And then you can see that also changes the distance. You can also change like margin top. If you want the distance from the top of the container to be larger than all the other sides, you could do margin top like 5. And now maybe I need to make it more dramatic. Now the distance between the top here is a lot more dramatic from the distance over here on the left. Yes. Okay. One other thing I really want to show you guys as well is, you notice when you guys go to, I don't know. Okay, when you go to this presentation and you hover over any of these buttons, it has like this little new styling reaction that lets you know, okay, you can click on this. Well, with your buttons, if you just write a button, if you just create a button element in your HTML and you give it button, there's not really a way to indicate that this is a button, you know? So in order to style it and to make sure the user knows that, oh, this button is something that you can click on, I'm going to show you guys something called a hover effect. So let me style this button just a little bit. Give a border, padding maybe 2, and then let's give it the color of gray. Gray, or actually no. There you guys go. So in order to add like particular styling for a certain action, you can actually add styling for when you hover or when active. Active means that like you're actually clicking on the item, and then you would do colon, and then you could add whatever styling you want. So let's say we want it to be like gray when we click on it. So if we click, right now I'm clicking on it, if you can't tell, but I'm clicking on this button and it causes this new styling. You can also do a lot of other things with this, and then you can also do hover. This might be the most popular thing that you guys use. I can just hover and you have that reaction. Sometimes if you want to make a button look really cool, you can do active and then do relative positioning and then active and then top 1. And then this like creates like, oh, it jumps up and down, that type of effect. You guys might use that a lot. Oh, is there anything else you guys? Oh, something really popular you guys, styling you guys might use as well is corner rounding. So if you want your elements to look a little softer, because you'll notice that the visuals here aren't as harsh as what you're seeing here, you can actually add corner rounding, which is border, rounded. No, rounded? Is it rounded MD? Okay, so rounded basically just means that you're rounding your object, and then you do a dash, and it gives you a bunch of options. You can just play around with these, but you can do like 4XL, and that makes it really round. So now it's starting to look like a button. You can also add shadows to your button. So you can do shadow 2x. This one's more dramatic. Can't really tell actually that well. Maybe if we do it on this object. You can add a shadow to your object as well. So you can do shadow. It's not that obvious. Oh wait, that's because my. So this adds a shadow as well. But obviously with anything, you can even edit how your shadow looks like. You can do 2XL, and then you can style it however you want. There are a lot of options. You can do shadow gray 300, and it adds a bit of a shadow. It's kind of hard to see from the screen, but that's some cool styling that you guys might work with. Trying to remember if there's anything else that you guys, is there anything you guys are curious about learning how to make or want to see an example of done on your site? Is there anything else?
What images?
Oh, images. Yes, images. Who here has, I mean, I think some of you guys have kind of worked with images already. So the way that images work is that you have to link your images from within your project. So whatever images you want to use, you have to upload them to your public folder over here. And then when you use your image tag, you use source, which tells you, okay, I'm linking it from here. And then you're gonna do whatever the name of that image is. So you'll do like file.svg, right? And I gotta go back to my page, week 3. And I spelled that wrong. Yeah. Ew. Okay, my image is like huge now. So the way that you can style this is that you can just you can either do class name, or the image tag gives you the option to even set the width. So you could do width equals like 200 pixels. You can do that, and even with your images, you can style them in a lot of different ways as well. So you can even make your images. I think we can center this, but not. Never mind. I think okay, never mind. But you can also add a border to your images. You can also add effects like hover, shadow, maybe. I don't know if you guys can see the shadow. Actually, I can't see the shadow. I don't think there is a shadow. But you can do as much styling with images as you want with these other elements as well. Yeah.
Can we make an image of buttons?
Yep. Oh, you want me to show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So you can, there's like 2 ways to do this. You could do image. I think you could do an on-click event. Can you do an on-click event too? No.
I don't think so, but you can nest it inside of it.
Yeah, so I think the most popular way would probably just to create a button element, and then within that button you paste your image, and then you have a little button. Obviously you might have to change the styling, but you can definitely nest a lot of things within a button.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot, just to like jump in, there's a lot you can do with images on my personal website, which I'll show you guys next week. I basically have my home screen where it's like 3 images just changing, and they're like transitioning from one to the other. So you can also do that, something like that for your backgrounds too. It's not just small components like this.
Yeah.
Are you able to like define the specific position for images, and also can you like layer different elements like on top of each other?
You can layer things on top of each other. The first question, could you explain that a bit more?
Or like define it like, oh, I want to add like 800 pixels. Or
Oh, like from, so you could use, so actually there is a way to that. You can do that with images, but you can actually do that with anything. Let's just use this as an example. 10 PG, right. Okay. So you could use absolute positioning, which means that this item will not be affected by the other items around it. And you could do like left, like 800 pixels. And that means that this item is going to be 800 pixels away from the leftmost border of its container, right? You could also do like top, like 200 pixels. So using absolute positioning is one way to do that. I think the more popular option might be using relative positioning, but that also affects items around you, because absolute positioning means like, okay, it doesn't care about any of the elements that surround it. But if you do like relative positioning, it's going to be affected by whatever containers or elements are around it. So if you do like left 200 pixels, it might be you can see that it doesn't overlap with this item because it's relative to the items around it as well. But that's a way that you can just move images around your page. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. That was basically like the basics that I wanted to show you guys, unless you guys had other like things that you wanted us to walk through with you. Is there anything else?
Do you want to go over media queries, or do you want to say that for another day?
Maybe save it for another day because I have to review that. Okay. But as a reminder, so these are your pages. If you guys haven't already, you do have to update your project layout because the template that we gave you guys, the routing doesn't work. So you have to move all your pages outside of the original pages folder, and then put a page.jsx inside that folder. And then you have your layout. Yeah, okay. Also, if you guys have been having trouble with like your code, just make sure that you have Node installed and that you did npm-i after cloning your project. And then to run the development server, you have to do npm run dev. Okay, any questions at all? Yeah.
What other kinds of things are like relatively easy to put on a website besides like images and stuff that are, you can put in public or just easily put in your code?
Other like
CSS elements?
Yeah, like CSS or like is it like do people put like music or like videos or stuff like that? Like is that a lot of images?
Actually, I'd say videos can be complicated, but actually can be straightforward. I also have like on my other site, I have a video, but it takes a while to like you can use videos by using iframe HTML to embed web pages. I mean videos. You can do GIFs work as well. I think you could use a Spotify API. Actually, the site that I'm working on right now, actually my current site that I'm still working on, if I start playing I'm gonna try to not, but like if I start playing something, it will not update my thing, which is okay. That should be working though. Oh wait, it might be my API key. Okay, but you can also use like Spotify APIs to show what songs you're currently listening to, but we will show you guys APIs later. If I think of anything fun that's like easy to incorporate into your website, I'll probably let you guys know. We'll also show you guys like animations, like ways to just make your website a lot more cute. Okay, also, I didn't add this to the slides, but Zeal and I will be working on our website alongside you guys, so you guys can like kind of look at our repository and see how we're making progress. I haven't really decided what kind of website we're making yet, probably a dev project website, but yeah, you guys can look at that as well. But yeah, and
I'm still a little confused on like how the Figma like plays into this. Is it just like a inspiration, like we make it's kind of like Canva, we just like,
yes,
look at it and then
but
or
also
are we plugging that into like an actual? Is that like are we gonna like create like? I don't understand how Figma works.
Oh yeah, Figma is just like a way for you to ideate and then use that as your inspiration. But actually Figma is really useful for developers because you'll notice that Figma helps show, I can't remember what setting it was on, but Figma is really useful for showing like distance to other things. Like if I do command and shift command, what was it? I literally just had it. Never mind. But it can show you distance to other items as well, which is like really important if you want to be very specific with padding and whatnot. So Figma is like definitely like, as a developer, you should be very familiar with it. But in terms of like, oh, do I need this? Am I like uploading this to my site? No. Great question. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've seen that you can change how your cursor looks based on where it's hovering. Like for example, if it's not hovering over an image.
Oh, cursor. Oh yeah. Great point. So you can also, one important thing about button functionality is you want to make sure that your button actually does button stuff. So if you go to your styling, you can update your cursor by just going cursor or hover, then cursor pointer. And now when you hover over it, it looks like a pointer. And then now it kind of looks like this huge ugly button. Okay. Thanks for the question. All right, your next task this week is probably going to be your biggest task yet. As a review, this is stuff that we've gone over. We also went over Tailwind. So the rest of March is gonna look like just more web development, and then April is like that time where we're gonna be showing you guys animations and like using like the Spotify API, and then you guys can choose whatever you want us to teach you, and then blah 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 blah. Okay, that's next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Task for this week. Finish writing all the HTML and basic styling for all of your planned pages, and then submit a video and screenshot of your finished work and put it in check-in channel. I don't know if this seems like a lot of work for you guys, but I feel like once you finish the first page, like the next pages like kind of flow pretty easily after that. Mm-hmm. So when I say basic styling, like you should have like the font sizes and like the coloring ready and stuff. But it doesn't need to be like animated perfectly or whatever, but it should like resemble your Figma site to a certain extent.
Like I was looking through some of you guys' Figmas, you have like a lot of images on certain pages, which is great, but you don't have to like style them properly. I guess just get them all on each page. Just like have everything there. Yeah, it doesn't have to resemble the Figma one-to-one, but every component has to be on there. Does that make sense?
Okay, you guys have been...
One more announcement.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. One more announcement from my end. There are a lot of missing check-ins for last week's task. You guys have been notified. And also one thing that I'm going to start doing, actually I feel like we should start doing it, is on the tracker sheet, there's a column that says error/incomplete. I think I'm going to go ahead and just put down anything that's incomplete, anything that's missing for the current week on there. So by the next week, hopefully everyone should have that stuff completed on there. Otherwise, it will be marked as missing, as like one of your, I guess, dropped absent points. So just keep that in mind because there is quite a bunch of missing check-ins for this week and Figma links.
Mm-hmm. But you guys have been doing such a great job so far. I know it's not super interesting to like sit and stare at a screen for an hour, but hopefully we'll have like more opportunities for you guys to like pair program and like actually interact with stuff. But I'm really happy with how things are going and like really grateful for you guys. So have a good week. We'll be here until 5:30 if you have any questions.